All right. Well, welcome back to As Told by You. Today, we've got a cool guest. This is Suzanne Brunnemer with Mann Tool and Supply, and they have been a staple of Columbia business forever. And we're just going to talk a little bit about the supply business. So, do I assume this is a family business?
This is a family business, and I'm the third generation. We've brought in the fourth generation.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about that? So my kids are not remotely interested in working in my business, and I've talked to both of them about it. I'm cool with it. How does that happen? Is it like accepted that the kids are going to take over, or are they interested in it? Talk about that a little bit.
Not so much for us. No, I did. My dad did. Like, he just went to work for his dad when it was time to go to work, and I went to work for my dad when it was time to go to work. That wasn't the career I thought I would end up in, but that's, obviously where my passion landed. So our kids, we told to go forth and do something that you think you love, or that you're passionate about, and then, if it ever comes up, we'll have that conversation then. And it came up last year, and our oldest son decided to come into the family business.
Wow, that's awesome. So, how's that been for you working in the family business for your time? How long have you been doing it?
This is my 40th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I guess you're in it.
I'm in it.
This is it. You chose.
I don't know. I think some days about other stuff. Like, what would it be if it wasn't this?
That's right.
Well, isn't it 80 years? The company's been here for 80 years.
81. Yeah.
So half of the time.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. So
I would assume you'd all start counting that 40 years when you were a teenager coming into work.
Yeah, and not the part before that when I was coming in and not getting paid.
Yeah. Because when I worked for my family business, it started in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad would drop me off at a construction site and say, clean up the construction site, fill all the garbage on this whole site needs to be put in the trash. I'll be back in a couple hours. And that's when I started.
Yeah. Now, is this a generational thing? Because I worked for my dad too. At like 10 years old, I was out cruising timber and helping him with like controlled burns and things like that at 10 years old. I thought it was very cool. We were putting fire out into a forest. That's awesome. But
I think it's a element of the trades,
right?
Blue collar work. You bring your kids because it's got to get done. I wish we could bring my kids in here and help them, operate a camera, but that's just not real.
I guess it's a little different. I never even thought about my son. My son's 22. So, he's fully capable of doing what we're doing, or I've hired a lot of 22-year-olds. I never even thought about it. He never thought about it. We never talked about it. It wasn't like a thing that was coming up. So that's interesting. Tell me what you think as far as like that generational, taking over the business or getting started in the business. What do you think that comes from?
Well, hearing you guys talk about it, I do think it's kind of trades oriented. And so a couple of things. Like you want to do what your parents are doing. Like you want to be up under mom in the kitchen when she's cooking, or, on Saturdays, a lot of times we'd go to work with dad just because on Saturday he was the babysitter. He had to go in and get some extra work done. Mom needed to clean house and grocery shop. So, kind of that division of the village duties is part of it. That family built-in babysitting almost. But, if you're old enough to count, you're probably old enough to be of some use. But I think families were more cohesive, more of a unit. So you did kind of tend to stick together more. And I'm noticing that as our generations in our family anyway age out, we don't tend to have quite as much of that. So, I'm really excited to still have family coming into the business.
What do you think your son's biggest strengths are? Like, where do you see him being able to take the business into the future?
Well, he's younger, so he's 34. He'll have a connection with our next generation of customers. And our customers tend to scale to a little bit, older. They're in the trades, or they're hobbyist DIY. And you tend to end up in a lot of those things if it's not your career a little later in life. More disposable income, a little more time on your hands, that sort of thing. his talents lie in he's very highly organized. So time management, being able to kind of see the bigger picture. I still have 1.5 feet in the day to day. So I'm still very much in the trenches. And I think he takes a better high level view even than I do. And of course, my husband works with me too. So it's truly a family effort. But he doesn't meet a stranger. You know, he just he takes to all types of people, all people. Very energetic, and it takes a lot of energy. You guys know this. You're running a business. You said you were working till 9 o'clock last night.
Sure.
It's not uncommon, and I think it's probably not something that we wish on our children. Like, I wish that my kids could take this business and run it, and it'd be a whole lot easier. But some days it's easy. It's the easiest thing in the world, and some days you're like, oh my gosh, why do I do this? I wouldn't wish this on anybody.
Yeah.
Especially my kids. But I see him being able to, you know, he's not afraid of managing people. He's a leader. And I love that. In a small family business, sometimes you're not just too close to the business itself, but you get really close to the people. And that makes it hard to manage. You know, it's hard to tell people that you care about very deeply no. It makes that a little more difficult. But he's got a lot of nerve. And I think that might serve him as well as anything. But he can show that nerve with, you know, he's also very polite. So he could probably tell you to kiss off and you'd be like, thank you. That was nice.
That's awesome. Did he get a degree? Does he have a degree?
He came out of a legal background. He had a paralegal degree, and he was working on his 4-year paralegal degree. And he's almost done with that. And we demand, like, you're almost there, go ahead and do that. Just because you ended up here, don't take that for granted. But yeah, his background, he came out of one of the courthouses.
Could be helpful,
to
I
come
guess,
with us.
Yeah.
to have some of that legal training.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to running a business.
Yeah, it is helpful. I can, you know, docs and stuff, like,
Oh, for sure.
he can look through something and say, do you want me to go ahead and sign it? Like, absolutely, please.
So all those talents you're talking about, the organizational and the management, all this stuff, it's all the stuff I wish I had. Like, it's just all I'm thinking, oh, these are all my weaknesses. Interesting.
Like,
Cool.
Discover after 50 that you have ADHD, and like, what do I do with this now?
Oh yeah. Listen, it's fascinating talking to my wife about ADHD and the fact that both of us probably have it, but like growing up in the 80s, it wasn't a thing that you talked about, and it wasn't a diagnosis that you got, you know? And so I'm wondering if that could help treat the ADHD, would help me with some of that organizational stuff, you know? But listen, we were just talking about, we have a scheduled thing on Monday that I had to cancel, but I forgot to take it off of the calendar. So Brian will show up at 9:30 if I don't take it off the calendar, because he looks at the calendar, right?
Yeah.
And I'm constantly like, Bill, is it on the calendar?
Yeah.
Is it not on the calendar?
And I
need this.
I hang my head in shame. I go, no, I didn't do it. I'm sorry. You know, so it's very interesting when I meet people now, especially young people. Like Stephanie's very organized. I meet young people who are organized. I'm like, man, how do you do that? Like, how do you get that organizational thing? You know?
Yeah,
And
I see tons of notes on his desk. I'm still terrible. You know, I'm terrible with handwritten notes. I'm using a tablet now for handwritten notes, which now I think I'm a tech guru because I'm using a tablet for handwritten notes.
Yeah.
But, you know, starting to use AI to just organize thoughts, where you can just go like stream of consciousness. One of my coworkers does that all day long, keeps one session open, and at the end of the day says, summarize what I thought today.
Wow, that's cool.
And I think, well, that's pretty easy if you think about it first thing in the morning and develop it as a habit.
Right.
And I think that's where we all kind of get a little lost. And I think some of those tendencies are almost learned, especially, especially running a business, because most people need to be utility players. So like you're doing a lot of different things over the course of a day and a week. And then, you know, that 9:30 meeting, like, oops.
Well, and the thing is, like, I guess I compensate for my lack of organization because I'm surrounded by people who are a little more organized than me, right? So it always works out,
Yeah.
somehow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the organization has to be done.
Right.
So you just have to balance yourself out with people who fulfill all of the needs of the organization.
The hard part is it's not that I don't like it. I definitely don't like it, but it's not that I don't like it. It's that I just don't have the capacity for it. It just doesn't fit in there somehow. And it ends up getting out of hand and but I at least try to surround myself with people who are good at, keeping things organized because I'll ask like, "Hey, isn't that thing Monday morning?" And I go, "Didn't you look at the calendar?" And I was like, "Nah, I forgot." But like, I know you knew, I know you knew what was going on. So tell me 80 years is an incredible distance for a business to go. What do you feel like makes a business last 80 years?
Well, I mean, the first thing is hard work. You just have to be, you have to be committed. And you have to, I think it's a cliche at this point, but the saying about it's not how many times you fall down, but how many times you get up. And you think about in the cycle of business, you ride these really great highs, then you have a recession, then you have something like COVID has come along during our careers. And those are things, those are milestones in your career that it's like you have to work to be in it and you have to work to get out of it. And there are things outside of your business that affect your business that you can't control. So you have to be, you have to always be working. You're always working to, like you're trying to see into the future. What should I be doing? What are we going to be doing? But as far as being that, that business that sticks inside the community, a lot of it's about the community. Like the community at large, but also how do we foster that? How do we foster a sense of community within our staff? How do we, share community with our customers? How do we create communities within our customer base? And we're all selling a product, no matter how you look at it. And there's a lot of different places to go for that product. And we sell some highly commoditized products. So, what is it? We're always thinking about that. What is it? What is it that we have, or what is it that we want to have to offer, and who's our audience? And not be guilty of just always saying yes because it feels good, but dialing that into, who are we? Who do we want to be that for? And, how are we going to get there? But I think that, understanding that you are part of a larger community, but that you can also develop smaller, more intimate communities within whatever your reach is.
Yeah.
I think people feel that when they come in our store. I hope they feel that. Like, I hope that's what they leave with is like we made them feel something, not just we solved a problem or sold a product or, even if you leave without buying anything, did we impart value somehow? We might have just given you directions to somewhere else that you needed to go, but, the service component of that community, community aspect, I think that's a lot of it. Hard work, a heart for service, and a sense of community that you can share.
Can you speak on the kind of the evolution of the company going from Mann Electric, now Mann Tool and Supply, and how did those transitions come about?
Well, ultimately, in a family business, those transitions come through death. I mean, it's not to be ignored, but my grandfather started it in Florence. He had moved his family from Columbia to Florence to take a job with the railroad and started a side electrical service business and eventually got into rewinding electric motors. So a very long time until the late 70s, we rewound and sold electric motors. And we needed a new facility. We moved in 1980. We were still out on North Main, My grandfather had moved the family back in the 50s. But we decided to stop rewinding. It's very labor intensive. There's some specialized equipment. So when we built the new shop, we didn't rewind anymore, but we were still repairing and selling electric motors. The tool companies came to us because we were repairing small electric motors. Tools have small electric motors. So we started servicing power tools. Then we started selling power tools. And in the 90s, we picked up the woodworking equipment. A lot of the big hardware stores kind of just divested themselves of that category, and we got tapped for that woodworking equipment. It's really kind of shaped from about 95 on, taking on the woodworking equipment has shaped the kind of the path of our
And
business.
woodworking, you mean carpentry and like anything you're doing with wood, building decks or
Yeah.
stick building houses
But even
and stuff like
even
that.
more so, like if I need a bandsaw,
Yeah.
or a lathe, or a
Table
planer,
saw, yeah.
table saw, I'm going to go to them. You're
Gotcha.
not going to Lowe's to get that stuff. You're going to a very specific woodworking company that supplies those tools.
So begs a question from my point of view, because I don't buy tools very much. It's like trying not to do anything. I spent my entire childhood behind my dad working on something, right? I would hold a tool for him. I'd hold a flashlight. Brian and I talk about holding the flashlight moment for a kid,
Yeah.
like the reason a lot of us feel like we're morons is because we couldn't hold the flashlight right for our dads. And I was like, when I get to be an adult, I don't want to work on anything. I want to hire professionals to do the thing that needs to be done. So if there's plumbing to be done, I want to hire a plumber. I'm not going to figure out how to do it. I just want to hire a plumber because I don't want to spend my whole time working on stuff.
Yeah.
My dad had one chainsaw my whole childhood. We had firewood for the house, and he was working on that chainsaw all the time. Never considered buying a new chainsaw. He just was like, I'm going to get this one working. And it was like one that he liked and it, whatever. So I just decided I wasn't going to do it, and it's a choice, it's intentional. So what makes somebody go to Mann versus a Home Depot or Lowe's? I would assume that if you are a tradesperson, if you feel like you need professional equipment, you go someplace like Mann versus going to a Lowe's or Home Depot. But
Yeah. So there's a lot of overlap on the product side, but we adopted a better best approach. So, we start at a certain tier level of quality or even specialization with our tools and then go up from there. So for the professional user or we have a lot of very serious DIY, but honestly, part of our, our core values, our core competencies revolve around knowledge and expertise. Mm-hmm. So if you come up against something that you want to do and you don't know how to do, I should have somebody on staff to sell you what you need and make sure, I think about, this is my analogy. Like I go to the grocery store to get the stuff to make macaroni and cheese. And while I'm there, I forget the noodles. Mm-hmm. So like we're the people that are there to help you. Don't forget the noodles. That I tell the staff, it's like, try to make sure that people don't get back to their project or their job site or their
Oops,
garage
I forgot that thing.
without that thing. And also make sure that whatever we did sell them was the right thing to do the job. Because you can put yourself out of the business selling the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. So, knowledge, expertise, a commitment to a certain level of quality in the product, and then scaling up from there, and some specialization. We have some really niche products that are hard to source in person. And if you want to put your hands on stuff, touch it, feel it, get an idea of how it really works. Like there's a lot of stuff in our store that you just can't see that assortment anywhere.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and I love that idea of being able to, because there was a time not too long ago, we had a leaking faucet in our bathroom, and I had no idea what to do, and I took a picture of it and I asked ChatGPT how I fix it, and ChatGPT knew exactly what the faucet was, knew the brand, knew probably what the problem was, and said it's probably this. And so I went to Lowe's and talked to the guy in plumbing, and he told me what to do and all that. But I felt lost the whole time. I felt uncomfortable and not in my element like the whole time. And I did eventually get it fixed, but it took 2 different trips, to get the right stuff. Is that a target for y'all at some level? Do you want that homeowner trying to work on their own stuff to come to you and say, help me figure out what the problem is here?
Yeah, and I think if you envision it a little bit more from a maker's perspective, I want to build that table.
Yeah.
Not so much the repair side, but the truly the making and building of things.
Sure.
If you've never touched a power tool before and you wanted to make that table, like there's people on the staff that can get you from zero to where you want to be.
And that's the beauty of having your training center.
Yeah. So we also
classes
offer
that anyone, Joe Public, can just come in and learn how to use tools.
Yeah, that's very cool. And is that a relatively new innovation for y'all, is having the training center, or is that something that y'all put in place, or was that already kind of in place in the 80s before you got to it?
No, that's fairly new. In the 90s, we started having a couple of local interest clubs meet at our store, and all around woodworking, wood turning. And we carried those across the river to West Columbia when we moved. So it started out with hosting these clubs, and out of that just grew like requests for, hey, can't we, can you bring in somebody to teach how to make a box with a bandsaw? I was like, well, you don't see any reason why not. And we started out with a dedicated space in the facility we're in now, but we ended up building in a classroom so we could host demonstrations for, it was usually people that were a little more like famous or well known within the community,
Yeah.
or even regionally, maybe even nationally, or in conjunction with a sale event. Like, we're going to bring in this high profile demonstrator. And we got approached from the outside, people wanted to teach. And now we have, just on our in-store staff, I think we have 4 or 5 people that can instruct. So it was just kind of an evolution, was a process of getting from people wanting to learn from like a paid demonstrator to us turning it into an educational program inside of a facility that's dedicated for that purpose.
That's awesome. Do you charge for that, or do you use that sort of as a lead generator to get people into place?
Both.
Okay.
Our scheduled classes are paid. When you register, you sign up like any other class and you show up and take the class. But anytime we have any event, even our suppliers are on board for that kind of educational piece, that extra, that little extra something that you can provide. But we do some just free, for the public to come in on topics that most of this comes from the customer, like what's hot right now or what people are interested in. So,
because I'll see those tents out there every once in a while. I guess, is that a manufacturer event?
That's usually a manufacturer's event. We've started trying to weave.
Milwaukee out there yesterday, right?
Yeah, we did. We had Milwaukee out
I was
there.
like, oh.
Like, I see that and I go, I want that. I just don't, but I want to. I feel a need to my neighbor across the street has he's fully invested in Ryobi tools. Okay, so he's got a Ryobi electric push mower, and all the batteries interchange and all this stuff. And I look at it and I go, oh, that'd be really cool. Like, I just want to cast my lot with DeWalt or somebody, I just get everything's DeWalt stuff, and all my stuff is yellow or whatever. I don't have any need for it. It would be a waste of money for me completely. But I feel the draw towards it. It's wild. It's
okay to have a bragging wall.
Yeah, you just have everything on the wall.
You don't have to use it, but for other folks to come into your garage and go, ooh.
but as we've talked about, my tools would not be on a wall. They would be scattered all over the house, and it would be like the drill would be wherever I left it last. But my wife is the handyman around our house, so she has all the tools, and she guards her tools. Like, it's very important to her that she keeps them together.
That's awesome.
Now, Suzanne, are you the do you fix stuff around the house, or do you, or you don't even touch?
Is
the
this
tools?
like
It's
you
all
go home and no tools at home, you know?
It's so funny. I think my heart is still stuck in the trades. Like most of my formal training in the industry came at a younger time in my career, where we were more construction, more commercial, more trades oriented. And we still are through the power tools, but our niche is very solidly woodworking. So the woodworking thing came after I had already started learning, and I didn't really catch that bug. So I 100% see the value in it. We hire our staff for that specialization, but I'm not a woodworker. But I can't, I can.
so no cutting boards for Christmas.
No,
Yeah.
no. And I have too many great contacts out in the community for that. Like, I will buy you a super awesome cutting board. But we bought an older home this year. So I'm starting to learn more. Like, I'm competent with certain handheld power tools, but I'm just now really starting to embrace the fact that if two of us are going to participate in this kind of renovation remodel, like
Yeah.
I really have to learn a little bit more. I've always been more from that motor background too. It's like a technical specialist. Ask me how fast it turns. Ask me how many strokes per
Sure.
second or whatever. But from a user standpoint, and my staff knows this, like, I'm not a woodworker. Y'all have to guide me. I rely on those specialists on our staff, even for, like, what should we be carrying? What should our product mix look
Oh, yeah.
like? So
Yeah.
I guess kind of yes and no.
How's the retail game changed over the last 10 years?
I think it gets harder. Like, and everybody says everything's hard. It's not. It just hard in the sense that it makes you have to be more flexible, more agile. Like, stop and turn on a dime, just because if you're an adult, like, if you're a mature adult, at least that's the way to put it, a seasoned adult. If you're a seasoned adult, so you've lived through some things that probably make you feel a little differently about your money. And anytime any little thing, and it's even more prevalent when you talk about retail e-com, but these events that happen that kind of affect our economy affect retail probably before almost anything else. So food goes up, gas goes up, all these things come up. It affects your disposable or discretionary income. Even if you own a small business, because you still kind of think about your money the same way, like my money and the business money. It's
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about any shady accounting practices, but
No,
just
no,
the way
it-
you feel
Listen, it took
about
me
your finances.
It took me a very long time before I was like not considering my check to the company as a check to me. It's
Yeah.
not a check to me, right?
Yes.
This has been a hard. I mean, over the past 5 or 6 years, it's hard to divorce yourself from the idea that this is a check to me. It's not. It's a check into the company account. I get paid every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's leave it alone,
Yeah.
right? And that's a tough one.
But if you're personally feeling that the economy is unstable, or that your
Yeah.
money is not safe, you feel that way probably too about your business, like your philosophy or your
Sure.
how you feel about it probably carries over. So if we're relying on people to make discretionary spends, or spend their disposable money,
Yeah.
we have to make it as attractive as possible. I think that's really key in a retail business. Is it attractive in our store? Is it attractive online? Because that's, you almost can't go without that in a product-centric business, is the e-com piece. And we've been fighting that struggle for probably 15 years, just to establish and have an e-com presence take hold. If nothing else, they're for convenience, and for, trying to show people who we are before they ever step foot in the store.
Just to be an option.
Yeah. So,
Do you see a lot of people coming to your website to buy the tools straight from your website, or is that more of a, hey, let's get some information? Do they have it? Then can I go get it?
I think most of our conversions right now, and we just went fully live in March on our third iteration of an e-com site. We're in what our software provider calls like post-launch. And a post-launch can last 2 years. And we haven't quite gotten to the point to where we're grand opening, like we're advertising that we have a website, and anywhere you see our message, you should see a .com in there somewhere. But most of our conversions are still non-traditional. Like somebody goes online, they look, they go, oh, well, they at least have the brand or at least have the category. And it does bring them into the store.
'Cause I imagine a lot of what you sell is stuff that people need right now. Like I need that thing today because I'm working on this thing today.
Yeah.
I can't order it and have it here in 2 days because it's too late. Right.
And I say our research, we just had a group from USC come in and do a little case study on us for a project. And from supplier to customer, when they were asking for opinions, was, we are that source for if you want it now. If you've got to have it now, or if nobody else has it, go to Mann Tool. So that's a good thing, but I don't want to be the last place you go. Like,
No,
I want to
course,
be
right? Yeah.
I want to be top of mind. Not
And you don't always want to be responding to emergencies either, right?
Right.
Yeah, and but does it have an effect that, because I would assume your clientele, a lot of it is either tradespeople who are very serious about what they're doing. So in other words, it's not costing me anything. I'm buying a thing that's going to make me some money, right? So it's an investment in what I'm doing. Or it's hobbyists that are passionate about woodworking, or they're kind of swept up in a project or whatever. Does that affect your retail sales in that way? Like you're not selling to people who are buying stuff as a frivolous extra spend.
Yeah.
Right.
Both.
Yeah.
I was talking about the bragging wall in your garage.
Yeah, of course, right.
So there is some of that. Like there is some cachet to having. We sell a brand called Festool. It's a very expensive German brand of power tools. And when people say, "Is it worth it?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely," because I don't know the part numbers for some of this stuff because we don't turn. I mean, we turn it that fast, but you don't replace things very fast.
Right.
So when I say I don't know any part numbers, that's a good thing. So
it's one of the problems of selling something that lasts, right?
Yeah.
You don't resell it.
Right.
This is what we run into. We make a video for a company that helps them raise money, and they use it for 3 years. We're like, we don't want you to use it for 3 years. We want you to use it for 8 months to a year and then make another one. Right. But that's not what happens. We do a good job, right? And then they can use it for 3 years. And so we have to wait for 3 years for them to call us back. Right. And I guess that's a problem with selling good quality stuff, is that you don't replace it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to your previous point, certainly a lot of our business is driven by, that need, that need right now. And, we just have to be really selective about, again, we can't say yes to everything, but we want to stock a broad enough offering to be able to satisfy needs. And then also that eye candy, got to have a little bit of that too.
Sure. Well, I don't have any neighbors that I know of that have Milwaukee tools. I mean, because I think that's because I don't think Lowe's or any of those guys carry Milwaukee, right? Am I? Do they?
A little bit.
I don't know. I haven't been that.
I'm not saying the words because
I
I've
haven't
heard
been
it
to
too
that part
much
of the
this
store
week,
in a
but
while.
yeah.
Weirdly, I still like going to that part of the store. I just haven't been there in a while. But I think it's very cool to have that stuff that seems elite, like a step up a little bit, from the normal pedestrian stuff,
Yeah. And I would say retail is very subject to it's happening across every industry. I can't think of anybody, and y'all can speak to yours, but consolidation. So like we're a one location tool store in Columbia, South Carolina. And, half a mile away, there's a Lowe's, a few miles up the road, there's a Home Depot. And then there's every online, retailer you could think of. So differentiation does become key. And then, margin. And right now with fixed expenses, I don't know about you guys, but insurance and like all the stuff it takes to run your business, then you kind of layer tariffs on top of that. So I'd say from a retail's perspective, where the consumer is highly sensitive to price, it has a significant effect on how people feel about purchasing. It's not so much, in the commercial, industrial, those areas, that stuff is budgeted for. So it's treated a little differently. But the consumer, like B2C, those folks are super, super sensitive on pricing. and we're super sensitive on how much our fixed expenses are spiraling, and the margin just
And you don't have the volume like a Lowe's to cover up any of that,
yeah.
those fixed expenses that.
Yeah, because Lowe's can cut their margins down to next to nothing because of the amount of volume that they're able to
yeah.
do. You know.
Yeah, we belong to a cooperative, and most of the high profile brands belong. It helps level the playing field for us. But even within that cooperative, there are 100 location independent operations. I'm not naive enough to think that I get the same deal every time. Like the buying power is combined in a cooperative model, but I'm still not that big. So like we're looking for what's new, what's hot. We have a guy on staff now that's just like analyzing trends. And we make sense to partner with new small businesses that are innovative and making a push. And they look and they're size and shaped like us, and it feels good. And also they have a good product and people like it. And but we just have to be really responsive on getting in. And then one thing that's harder for us is getting out. Like, how do you decide when something has played out and you don't have a store full of dead stock that was really, like wonderful 2 years ago, and now that's not a thing anymore.
So is that when the sales kick in?
We try not to let anything get 2 years old under the roof, but we have time to sales, but we also do manage our inventory with discounts differently than we used to.
How so?
When we started recognizing it probably 15 years ago, like, hey, every day you can, every $1,000 of inventory you can turn is $1,000 you put in the bank. We would look back 18 months. Anything that hasn't moved in 18 months, then it was a year. Now it's 6 months. Now maybe temporary markdowns are just because we have more of it than we need right now. And we didn't used to do all of those things. So we're pulling the trigger a lot faster on our dead inventory just because it might not be dead. It might just be slow moving, but we can't afford to have our inventory dollars tied up in something that's not working. And we need to have that cash flow to buy those new hot things when they pop up, and not have to have the cash flow conversation when we need something. We shouldn't be having to talk about, well, if we didn't have X number of dollars tied up in this one SKU we bought really deep, and my money's all tied up in there, and I could be spreading that around on these, like these cool things that everybody wants and needs right now.
So do you guys offer like big doorbusters for Black Friday and stuff still?
We will have some doorbusters for Black Friday. Don't turn me into a salesman, but I will.
Somebody's got to do it.
I know.
It's always it's just the Black Friday idea in itself has just morphed so much to the point where doorbusters aren't really a thing because people don't really go to the stores anymore.
Right.
No one's flooding Best Buy anymore to get their doorbusters.
That's true.
But if people naturally go to your store anyway, then I would imagine that doorbusters would be a good idea.
Yeah, we laugh about it because we weren't always open on Black Friday, and Dad and I just decided that maybe we should just work the day after Thanksgiving. Like, there's not really a whole lot else going on. I'm not a big shopper, like all day shopper, and I think Dad it was golf at the time. It's like, I don't care anything about really playing golf after Thanksgiving. So let's just open the store.
See what happens.
Yeah. So, it was kind of a thing, and, for us to do. And now it's turned into Black Friday. And I almost wish we could not
go back.
Because it means all my staff has to stay in for Thanksgiving. And, I don't feel great about that.
Yeah.
Even though our sale events are probably some of the most fun times that we get to have together as a group. It puts us all together doing the same thing at the same time.
Could you do a pre-Black Friday?
Well, everybody else does.
Yeah, they're starting it on Wednesdays now.
Yeah,
it's like,
true.
it's crazy. It's the whole week now.
Yeah.
At this point.
And then you have like Amazon Prime Day in July,
Right.
or June or whatever, where it's
Well, you had
fake Black Friday.
that Digital Monday or whatever it is that comes
Yeah.
after Black
Hey,
Friday.
Small Business Saturday.
Small business. We do. We do the Black Friday Small Business Saturday is like a combo sale. But also think about it. It's like, what do you do with your brother-in-law if they're staying over? Like, bring them to my store.
Yeah.
Bring all your, bring your family down. Get out of the house. Come
Have
on.
some hot dogs.
Come on
whatever.
down. Yeah.
Well, I remember working the only time I worked retail for Black Friday, I was in college. I worked at Radio Shack in the Aiken Mall, and we did Black Friday, and I think we had to be there at 6
Probably.
or something crazy. And I was in college, so being there at 6 was like, I'm just gonna stay up and go straight to work after being up all night or whatever. And it was insane. We were there. I was there until 10 o'clock that night, and we got commission. So I was like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. Like, normally Radio Shack was dead as a doornail. I mean, the only people that came to Radio Shack were nerds looking for electrodes. It was like nobody was shopping at Radio Shack. But man, Black Friday, we had the remote control cars out. We had like the little robots. We had all that stuff. And, I made a lot of money that day. I mean, for a college student, I was like, this is the greatest thing, but I don't think it happens that way anymore. I don't think the mall is overrun with people. I don't think that any of that happens that way.
Yeah.
That it used to.
I was thinking about it just the other day. It was like, there used to be people getting trampled at Walmart.
Totally, because you'd have whatever video game system was for sale for like $99 or something, and they had them in stock. Nobody's had video game systems in stock for so long that like nobody's even thinking about it being, available. And I just don't think it works that way anymore.
Well,
which is crazy.
all electronics. It's like
Yeah.
a TV.
Yeah.
Like, I can barely pass up a TV in Walmart just because I'm like, that is an amazing price. I must need this TV, but you used to fight for that stuff.
I sent Brian a picture a couple weeks ago. I was in Costco. They have a 100-inch TV. Now, I'm not sure what we would do with a 100-inch TV.
Put it on
But
the
if
wall.
I put a 100-inch TV on the wall back here, I could have all kinds of stuff happening behind the couch while the podcast was going on. We could have the Napoleonic Wars going on in the background. It would be the craziest thing. And that 100-inch TV was like $1,600. And I was thinking to myself, my first flat screen TV I bought in 2005 to use for a trade show, it was 32 inches. Now my computer monitor is 32 inches now, but that first TV I bought was 32 inches. It was $1,500. And it was not a great one. It was a Vizio. It was like, but it was just the idea that technology has gotten to that point right now that a 100-inch TV, I mean, who's buying a 100-inch TV? Where are you putting that? Who's got a house that's like, you'd have to be 20 feet from the wall to be able to see it right. It's crazy. Yeah. I love the idea of taking a 100-inch TV and putting it behind the couch. I think that's a good idea. Well, we could have the Mann logo up there, while the podcast is going on.
Future podcast sponsored by Mann Tool and Supply.
That's right. There we go. Just looking for a little sponsorship. That's all we need. We'll put it up on the TV.
If you guys are looking to sponsor,
we'll go ahead and get the TV. We'll put it up there on the background. So talk to me about doing business in Columbia. What in the Columbia area? I guess you're in West Columbia. What's that been like for y'all? And I assume that this is a local business because it's always been a local business. But talk about that. What's that been like for y'all?
Well, we love Columbia. And Columbia didn't always get the best spin because we've got Greenville and we've got Charleston, and Columbia's just kind of forgotten. And even, when I travel or participate in any type of group within our industry and everybody says, what's Columbia, South Carolina like? And it's like, it's kind of a typical capital military, just, it's not something people think of as very sexy, but it's really, I think it's one of the best kept secrets in the world. Yeah. And we travel a little bit, and I just think, if you look back over the years, what we have had as draws, but you have built-in populations because we have so many military bases, and you have that reputation for being military friendly. And I would tell you, that's a key component of our business, is because we support so many government jobs and military jobs. We have a base of retired or looking to retire, getting ready to retire. That's always been a good thing for the economy of Columbia in general, but for Mann Tool too. Being at kind of we're at the hub of 3 interstates. So, like, what more could you really ask for is to be in a, like a small, low cost of living state right in the middle. And it allows us to pull customers from, we think we cover about a 100-mile radius.
Wow.
So Charleston doesn't have anything quite like us. Going towards Florence and Myrtle Beach, skip over Charlotte. They have something.
Yeah. Well,
Greenville's got a little bit, but even Augusta, coming up that Aiken-Augusta corridor, we really see a lot of good stuff out of there. And then between here and Orangeburg, So it allows people to come to a city where we have a lot of resources.
yeah.
And we might be a stop on the way to a ball game. We might be, a part of a day of errand running for somebody who lives 50 miles away. But if you live, especially this side of Augusta, would you go to Atlanta? Like, no. But I just think Columbia has so many great things for, there's an up-and-coming makers community. There's just like a really good support of the arts. We've had the Coker Center for a long time. We have an international business school. We have one of the highest rated zoos in the country. So when you think about those types of things and how it relates to even the arts and crafts community, like that's a big draw for us. That's there's a lot of, there's just a lot to recommend Columbia. I'd say it's pretty business friendly. And if you move in here from somewhere else where you are working remotely on a California salary, so there are a lot of folks who have the opportunity to spend good money, even companies, because the scale, the cost of living here is so favorable compared to
Actually living in California. Yeah, you
that
definitely.
actually working in Columbia remotely, but
Yeah.
on a West Coast or maybe Northeast
Or some kind of
base salary.
international salary. Yeah.
Or some type of international salary. And I mean, look what we've pulled in with Scout.
Sure.
Yeah. What that will do for pay scales for our community. I don't have anything, I have nothing negative to say about the whole experience of running a business in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always love that question because, it's an interesting place to do business because I find so many people who have moved away to find their fortune, and they come back, because of that unsexiness. I think that's probably my favorite part about Columbia is that it's unsexy. It's just it's a comfy place to live. I don't have to compete with the sexiness. I don't have to worry about people being cool around me all the time. You can just you can know just about anybody, right? And we talked about this with who are we talking about? But we were talking about the degrees of separation, that there's just so few degrees of separation between you and anybody that you want to get to know.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's definitely been a good place for us to run a business. And Brian moved away. I mean,
I did.
Yeah, he lived in California for a long time, and moved back. And so that's what happens. You go out there and make your fortune, and then come home. And that's what this is home. And I'm fascinated with people who have been in business for 80 years, because our philosophy is that you don't lose until you quit. So
That's right.
so that's really our core, one of our core tenets, is like, we're just not going to quit.
Right.
So I don't care, say what you want. I'm not quitting.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think about it like sports too. Like, you talk about coaches or you talk about players going out on top. Like, if you are, don't wait. Don't wait until
wait till it all falls apart.
right. But usually that's kind of the tendency is like, oh, this is just not happening anymore. Let's call it a day. But I've seen, it's hard to watch that go on, and we're seeing it now. I think I believe we're kind of almost in the same generation.
Probably.
But
Close enough.
some generational businesses or some local businesses that have been here for a long time, and just don't either don't have or don't see or don't want a succession plan, don't want to continue it for whatever reason. It's kind of unsettling to see those announcements in the media.
Yeah.
It's like so and so's like going out of business.
Yeah.
Or it's decided to close after all these years, and you got to stop and wonder like what led them there. But primarily, I see folks going out kind of what looks to be, you never know what's really going on, but it appears to be at the top of their game. Mm-hmm. And okay,
that's good.
Like, okay, you said tomorrow or 6 months from now we're going to turn the key in the lock, and that's our plan. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, but
if you decide to do that,
right. Yeah.
But you could have sold.
You could, yeah.
Sure, I'm sure there's an Ace Hardware somewhere that would be wanting to set up. There's an Ace Hardware on every block. So yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you have a long-lasting business that has a unique market space that I'm sure that there's probably a buyer out there somewhere that.
There's buyers everywhere for anything you can think of.
You have to consciously say no. We're not selling. We want to continue doing this.
But there's something else to be done.
Yeah.
Right.
There's something else to be done. And I think that's an important element of it. The idea that, like what's happening with restaurants and bars right now with the insurance, so many of these companies that are, especially restaurants that are folding after a long time, it's not their fault.
Right.
It's just that the whole environment has changed around them and they just can't do it anymore. I was down the Vista last night and they've turned the old Whitash building into apartments. And when you look into that window, you realize Whitash kind of closed off that front display area. But when they've opened it up now, it goes all the way back to the other block. And it's a giant building. I mean, you just don't even realize how much space that they were using there for Whitash for a long time. That's one of those businesses where it's been here forever.
Yeah.
And they just decided we're kind of done. Yeah. And now the Vista can, turn that into apartments and actually generate a lot more revenue for somebody, from there. And I guess it's the natural order of things.
Well, I mean, I think it's different for as many different businesses there are out there, there's a different vision of how this will wrap up or how this will continue, barring anything unforeseen that like this is what we're going to do. And there's just so many, like our economy is fueled by small business. So it's important that we're starting to get resources in our industry to have the talk, to at least start the discussion is like, what are you thinking? Because there's still quite a few people in our circle that are really more my dad's generation. Mm-hmm. And they're like, we're just now starting to have these conversations. And I think, succession in business is like, it's really a hot topic right now, but it's also one of the most important, when I mentioned death earlier, everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're talking about, but that's a big promotion when the founder dies and then the second generation, my dad steps in and then dad and I had already kind of had the transition well before he passed away, but it's still a very symbolic, it's a symbolic happening. Yeah. And the only reason we'd had the conversation and very candidly is because he was just kind of that kind of guy is like, we're going to talk about when I die. Yeah. Not like if something
Which
happens.
It's important to do.
It's important.
Right? Yeah.
But we haven't had a culture around that in small business to really, to really get that going because a lot of small businesses are generational, or even if they're not, the person you've kind of tapped as success, or you're still very close with that person.
Sure. Yeah.
So a lot of times these events are not good. Like the way we hand off the business to the next, whoever the next owner is, it was not a pleasant circumstance. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard
Or
to
somebody's
talk.
taking it over that doesn't really know how to run the business because they never thought of doing it.
Yeah.
It just fell on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard, like in a family business, like you might inherit a business one day because something happened to both of your parents at the same time. And it's something you never conceived of. So
Right.
anyway, I think it's important for, like, we're having this talk right now about succession. Just like you could turn the key, you could liquidate, you could sell, you could, like whatever. But I just think it's important to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and part of the work, we work with the Builders Industry Association over the last year or so, and a big conversation with the BIA is succession for trades, because a lot of the older, tradesmen, the kids aren't getting into the business. The builders, especially, the kids aren't taking over the business for the older generation, and so they're having an issue with like, we're running into shortages of tradesmen to do things, and it was a big topic of conversation.
It's very important. Just that transfer of institutional tribal knowledge for those of us that have been immersed in it forever, and then like how do you pass that on in the trades? It's really, really important.
Well, and my dad was a forester. I went to WVU and had a forestry degree, and he did forestry his whole life. And when I was going into college, I had been doing forestry at that point for almost 10 years. So I could have just walked on, I knew everything about what he was doing. I knew all the little, I could have just gone and got my little degree in forestry and went into it, but I didn't want to. I saw what that day was like. I saw that day started before the sun came up, and it's hot in the summertime and it's cold in the wintertime, and there's shortages, and you're working around mud and oil and all this stuff all the time. My dad smelled like oil all the time. Yeah. Like going to church on Sunday, he smelled like oil, and I just didn't want to do it, and I wasn't suited to it. It wasn't where my interest or talent lies, and that's hard when it comes to trades like that, because you have to choose. If you're a carpenter, or if you're a roofer, or you're a plumber, you have to choose a hard job. Make a lot of money, and they're lucrative jobs, but they're hard. They're physically very difficult, So it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah. We were talking to an intern the other day about, like, what's your next step? Like, are you going for your master's? Mm-hmm. Well, if I don't do it now, I probably won't get back to it. Like, well, you don't necessarily know that. And my husband said, you really should consider plumbing or electrical.
Yeah.
You might want to
need a master's.
You might want to change now if you really want to go, go make some money and do it while you're young. And, but that's, I see that referenced a lot in the media too, about how expensive a degree is now versus the availability of jobs that will even utilize what you've
and the desperate need for jobs, for those blue collar jobs. I mean, there's a desperate need for them. And my son is 22, never went to college. He started a business doing car detailing and is doing fine. It seems to be doing fine. I don't know, we'll see. But he knew he wasn't going to college, so he knew he was going to have to put in the hard work, and I think that's a valid path right now, where when I was in high school, there was no option. I was going to college. There's no discussion otherwise.
Yeah.
Of course, my dad also knew I wasn't going to be able to work on things. So, he was like, you got to go to college. If you're going to get a job anywhere, you're going to have to go to college, sir. But I think that's definitely going to be a wave now, especially since college isn't a foregone conclusion for kids. Hopefully that will help fill in that gap. Yeah. Because that's a tough one. So, well, thank you for coming on. This was really fun talking about this stuff. Brian, I'll let you lead the 5 favorites.
Okay.
Since this is your guest.
So we end up every podcast with our 5 questions, your favorites. What is your favorite power tool?
Ooh, I was going to ask that one. I'm so glad you asked that.
Oh, you category, or you're going to make me specify?
I don't know.
brand?
Whatever. Yeah, if you want to talk
Not
about
a brand. You don't have to do a brand.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Like, do you really like that drill or saw or whatever? What's your favorite power tool?
A multi-tool. It's the little oscillating tool You see it
like
on
the
all the
Dremel?
home improvement shows. Yeah, it'll cut anything. I love
Nice.
it. It's manageable too, so I don't feel intimidated by it.
Very good. That's awesome.
What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is Steel Magnolias, the original version. I got got into trouble in a class. I was 30, and I was in a college class at 30, and I said that was my favorite movie, and the rest of the students are like, "What is that?"
Oh no!
I'm like,
Wow.
I'm only 30. So now I can say it and be like, Steel Magnolias, what do
Yeah.
you want to do?
Nice. That is a good movie. Favorite book?
Gosh. Do I have to pick one?
Well,
You know,
however
it's
you
your
wanna,
choice.
Yeah, it's just want to talk about books.
I just want to talk about books. I'm trying to think. I go back to books and read them over, but they made a movie recently with Tom Hanks and they called him Otto. But the book was Ove because I believe the character was Norwegian or Scandinavian anyway, but A Man Called Ove. I believe that's the name of the book. But anyway, I read it after my dad died, and it's about grieving, but it's funny. It's like if you laugh, cry, have to think a little bit, but I love that book.
I'll
Awesome.
have to look into that one.
I haven't heard of that.
Favorite dessert?
Like really, really great plain cream cheesecake. Plain cheesecake, but it has to be like
New
off
York
the charts
style
good.
or
Yeah.
like Sara Lee style?
like New York style, like
With a graham cracker crust.
dense,
Yeah.
but still fluffy.
Yeah.
But if it's plain and it speaks for itself, like you don't have to have any topping.
Nice.
I love that.
All right, last one. You got one?
Last one. What would be your last meal on death row? So what would you choose for your last meal?
I've answered this question playing the round table with our kids and our friends, but my grandmother's pot roast,
Nice.
rice and gravy, macaroni and cheese, green beans, dinner rolls. Like
Yeah.
when I think of, I don't know,
Comfort food.
comfort food, but just like being around her kitchen and family, and then that's a meal that I love to make to this day. But yeah,
Awesome.
that's it.
Nice.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was awesome to
Yeah, really
to learn
enjoyed
about
the
it. Yeah.
conversation.
Enjoyed it, y'all.